Now we've worked with matrices, and now we're going to move on to data frames. And a data frame is very similar to a matrix, except that it has names for our columns, and they also can handle both numeric and categorical or character type elements in our data set. So I'm going to create a new section in our code, which is going to be called data frame. And then I'm going to create a data frame that's called grade.df. So it'll stand for grade data frame. Then I'm going to use the data.frame function. And I'm going to type in class.1, class.2, and class.3. So hopefully on line 99, we will be able to create a data frame consisting of 3 different columns, and each column will consist of the grades in class 1, 2, and 3. So I will run line 99, and then let's take a look at our data frame. So I'm going to type grade.df, and I can look at the whole data frame simply by just printing it. We can see our 3 different columns. The grades in class 1, class 2, and class 3. And now we have column names represented on all of our columns, which wasn't the case when we had a matrix. And I'd also like to show you guys another important concept when you're working with data frames, which is that you can use the $sign. So I type the name of my data frame, and then I put a $sign, and then we can see that R automatically opens up a couple different tags for our 3 different columns. So if you ever want to call a specific column within a data frame by its name, you can type the name of the data frame and then use a $sign, and then we can select unique columns this way. So if I run line 101, we see on our console that it outputs all of the elements of class 1, which is our first column in the data frame called grade.df. So let's say I wanted to find the mean of all the grades in class 1. So what I can do is I can type the mean function, and then I can type my data frame, and then I'm going to use the $sign to call class 1. So I'm finding the mean of the column called class.1 in the data frame grade.df. And if I run that line, we see that the average grade in class 1 is equal to 79.91. But let's say I wanted to find all of the mean values within all of the different columns in grade.df. So a very important function to understand when you are working with the data frames is the summary function. So this will synthesize a lot of the different statistics that'll be important for analyzing a data frame. So I'm going to use the summary function, and then I'm going to call grade.df. And when I run line 104, we see that R is able to output the mean, the first quartile, the median, the mean, the third quartile, and the maximum value for each one of our 3 columns. So this is a very efficient way of synthesizing data and analyzing data within a data frame. It would be very tedious to type out the mean and minimum values for each one of our 3 columns. That would be very tedious. So we can simply call this summary function, and we can get all of the summary statistics for all of the columns in our data frame. So that's a very effective way of synthesizing data in RStudio. So I'd also like to besides synthesizing data, I'd also like to give you guys some practice with data processing and working with data and organizing data. So I'm going to give you guys an example where we're going to create grade.df, and we're going to set it equal to a data frame. But we're just going to start off with class.1, and we're going to also have class.2. So right now we only have 2 classes in our data frame, and we can look at grade.df by typing it in our console, and we see that we only have our two classes. But let's say I wanted to manually add one class.3 to grade.df, and as opposed to typing it all out like we did on line 99. If I wanted to add one specific column to a data frame, I can actually just type the data frame of interest, and then I'm going to use the $sign. So I'm actually creating a new column. So I wanted to create a class called class.3. So this new column will be called class.3. And then I'm going to set it equal to the grades in class.3. So when we can call certain columns again with this $sign, but we can also create new columns by using the $sign as well. So I'm going to create a new column called class.3 and set it equal to all of the values in class 3. And when I run that line, we can now look at grade.df and see if it actually changed. And we can see that we successfully added a third column called class.3 to our data frame called grade.df. So that's one way to add a column to a data frame. But I also want to show you guys a different methodology, which uses a very basic R function that you guys should be able to familiarize yourselves with. So we have, again, we're calling the function data.frame, and then we're going to have class 1, we're going to have class 2, class 2. So this new data frame called grade.df, it's going to rewrite over the original one which had 3 columns in it. So now we want to manually add class.3, not using the $sign symbol, but actually using a basic function. So what I'm going to do is create a new object called grade.df, and then I'm going to use the cbind function. So cbind stands for column bind. So you have a data frame, and then you're combining another column to this original data frame. So the first argument in my cbind function is going to be the data frame. So it's going to be grade.df, and then I'm going to add class.3 to this data frame called grade.df. And hopefully we can check out in our console if R was able to combine that column. And you can see that we were successful, that we were able to add class.3 to the original data frame. So those are just 2 different ways of adding columns to a data frame. We can use the $sign and then manually creating a new column, or we can use the cbind function to attach a column to an existing data frame.